Good morning, and welcome to your morning cereal. Okay, good morning, and welcome to Friday, the first Friday of March. It's hard to believe we're staring down spring break vacation starting here in just a couple of weeks, and I hope you and your family are able to take some time off and get some real rest and relaxation. That being said, morning cereal will be taking a break the week of the 17th as well, but we'll be back the following week of the 24th. Hey, thanks for tuning in this Friday, and you must have known today is National Cereal Day, so you're getting your morning cereal for sure. Let's see here. The cereals that I can remember growing up with were Cookie Crisp, Captain Crunch, Count Chocula, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Some of those are still in our pantry today. And of course, any Wheaties boxes that had Michael Jordan on it back in the day, I had all those. Now, I never ate the Wheaties cereal inside. That was terrible. But I still have those boxes. Well, it's also National Be Heard Day and National Day of Unplugging. So depending on what mood you find yourself in this morning, you have one that works really well. Okay, let's do some quotes. One fun, nostalgic quote, and then a second quote to tease our book review later in the episode. Hopefully, one of these quotes will speak to you and jumpstart your day in a positive direction. Okay, the first quote is from actor Bryan Cranston, and he said, quote, "I learned long ago to focus on things you can control, and don't even pay attention to the things you don't," end quote. Brian's right here, right? This is a popular one in my household. I'm constantly reminding my children, and sometimes I have to remind myself that I can only control myself. So I shouldn't lose my mind or shouldn't worry or shouldn't lose time just trying to control a situation or someone else that I have no control over. So control yourself. Make sure you're making the best decisions, right? Can't control other people. Hey, thanks for the reminder, Brian. And today's teaser quote from the book review is, quote, "This is the day of dramatization. Merely stating a truth isn't enough. The truth has to be made vivid, interesting, and dramatic," end quote. And as usual, we'll unpack that here in just a minute or two during the book review segment. But first, let's jump into our usual dose of fun and nostalgic facts here from this day in history. But first, let's jump into our usual dose of fun and historic facts from this day in history. And today's news, facts, and birthdays are for March 7th. We're going way back. We're starting in 161. That's when Marcus Aurelius became emperor of Rome. And as I recall from my history classes, actually, maybe it was something else, he was fantastic. I think that was according to the movie Gladiator. I really liked him. Then we're going to skip up almost 2 millennia. That's when, on this date in 1926, the first two-way transatlantic telephone call took place. And it happened between the post office in London and Bell Laboratories in New York. Then on this day in 1965, state troopers used nightsticks and tear gas to attack American civil rights activists as they crossed a bridge in Selma, Alabama, during their attempted march to the state capitol in Montgomery. Then on this date in 1987, boxer Mike Tyson, he became the youngest heavyweight champion ever by defeating James Smith in 12 rounds. Then on this date in 2009, despite only being 17 years old, the Brazilian soccer sensation Neymar, he made his professional debut for Santos. Then lastly, in 2010, American director Kathryn Bigelow, she became the first woman to win an Academy Award for Best Director. And she did it for directing The Hurt Locker. Great movie. Well, happy birthday if today is your birthday. You share a birthday with actor Bryan Cranston, he's 69 today, and actress Rachel Weisz, she's 55. And finally, golfer Tom Lehman, he's 66 today. And the number one song on this date back in 1988 was Father Figure by George Michael. Again, another great song, and it was one of 4 number one singles on George Michael's album titled Faith. And at that time, he was the only British male artist to have ever done that. Okay, well, let's move on to some personal growth in the book review segment of Morning Cereal. As you know, this is where we take a few moments to reflect on lessons learned from the current book we're reading. And currently, we're reading through Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a timeless book that is consistently on all the must-read lists, and it's packed with rock-solid advice and actions for all of us to use and build healthy foundational concepts to live by. Now, yesterday we finished chapter 10 of part 3 with that chapter entitled An Appeal That Everybody Likes. And in chapter 10, Carnegie taught us that most people among us are idealists, and they will take action based on some reasoning that the action has some noble appearance to others, right? Despite the fact that the actual action and the reason behind it might be a bit selfish. Carnegie says, quote, "The fact is that all people you meet have a high regard for themselves," end quote, and they like to think of themselves as unselfish and noble. So Carnegie says that when we are trying to appeal to other people, we should try and appeal to these secondary reasons, with principle number 10 being appeal to the nobler motives. Okay, today we're going to start and finish chapter 11, which is entitled The Movies Do It, TV Does It, So Why Don't You Do It? And if you're wondering what this chapter is all about, well, so am I. Let's get into it here. Carnegie originally published this book in 1936, and he opens this chapter stating, quote, "This is the day of dramatization. Merely stating a truth isn't enough. The truth has to be made vivid, interesting, and dramatic," end quote. Well, if Carnegie thought 1936 was dramatic, I wonder what he would think of today's world with our social media, with influencers, TV personalities, our politics, and our news. The need to stand out from the crowd to gain others' attention in today's world has only been amplified since Carnegie's days, and as such, his point is still very applicable here. And Carnegie says about making the truth more interesting, more dramatic, making ourselves more interesting and more dramatic. Quote, "You have to use showmanship. The movies do it, television does it, and you will have to do it if you want attention," end quote. Here, Carnegie gives examples of how this drama plays out in our daily lives, pointing to TV commercials even back then, showing one brand of detergent removing all the stains and being perfectly white while the other leaves a gray mark. Or a car racing around the corner or through the mountains, right? Users of products are so happy when they're using this product and smiling, while the other product they're frowning. And Carnegie was giving examples of commercials in his day, and we all still know commercials are like that today. Carnegie gives another example of a rat poison company using live rats in a window display that drew the attention of the crowd passing by. And lo and behold, sales increased 3 times. Now, you might not be able to do that exactly today, but is that really any different than Red Bull having a man skydive from the edge of space? Not really. If you want people to take action for you or buy what you are actually selling, or even metaphorically selling, you need to grab their attention. And to this point, Carnegie suggests that we think outside the box in our personal lives and not sit idly by, doing the same thing as everyone else. If you want the interview, do something outside the box. Write a handwritten letter. If you want kids to clean up, make it a game. Think outside the box rather than just arguing your point and shoving your perspective down other people's throats. Don't just present yourself in the same manner as everyone else if you want to stand out. Dramatize yourself. Dramatize the facts in a different way. Find ways to appropriately, and I think using the word appropriately here is appropriate, but find ways to appropriately utilize showmanship to set yourself apart. Okay, here it is. In a very short chapter 11, which was entitled The Movies Do It, TV Does It, So Why Don't You Do It? Carnegie's principle number 11 is dramatize your ideas. Sometimes we fall into the ho-hum of daily life. Adding a little color, a little spice sometimes is needed, and it's appreciated when it's appropriately applied. Well, you can check the box of getting something done today. You can check the box of getting your cereal, your morning cereal. So nice work. And if you can celebrate National Day of Unplugging by unplugging at some point today, I hope you can do that. It's a beautiful Friday, so enjoy it. And don't forget, on Monday, we're going to dive into the final chapter of part 3, with that chapter entitled, When Nothing Else Works, Try This. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us this week. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. And of course, have a fantastic day. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Morning Serial podcast on the One Life Live It channel. You can find more episodes and videos by visiting our YouTube channel and the website at Sean Inglis and at SeanInglis.com, where you can also follow our other podcasts, the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis podcast and the Life Happens podcast. In these other podcasts, we'll dive deeper into everyday issues, self-improvement and well-being, business and finance, and we welcome special guests too. So join us. It'll be a good time, I promise. Thanks again for listening. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.